Brought to you by Sunbeam, the best electric shavers made. Makers of the new Sunbeam Rollmaster electric shaver with automatic self-adjusting rollers that automatically adjust to your face and beard. Now, let's all play What's My Line?
Now let's meet our award-winning panel of What's My Line. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And on my left, a very, very special guest, a panelist who is not only one of Hollywood's finest actors in the movies, but is the star on CBS television of that fascinating Saturday night show, Markham, Mr. Ray Milland.
And on my left, one of the most dangerously delightful women it's been my good fortune to meet, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now I'll publish a panelist who has just been published by somebody else. No reflection on his own firm. The name of the book is The Laugh's on Me, and if you know Bennett, the laugh is for everybody. Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
One of the unique features of our panel moderator is that he has 5 names, 5 authentic names. And though we often haven't the vaguest idea what he's talking about, we're very, very proud of him. So here he is, John Charles Francis Trowan Daly.
And I want to congratulate Bennett. After 9.5 years, he still hasn't got it right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have some interesting occupations, some very nice people who brought them here, and a panel which we trust we're going to give a rough half hour to, with, and by. And we'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the show. We'll meet our first contestant after this. Now let's meet our first contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Right there. Anne Faulkner, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs.? Miss Faulkner, and where are you from?
Bristol, Tennessee.
Bristol, Tennessee. It's nice to have you with us, Miss Faulkner, the panel. Miss Faulkner, would you join me over here, please? Are you familiar with What's My Line, at least familiar enough to how we keep score?
Yes, I am.
All right, then in that event, we shall let the audience here in the theater with us and the folks who are watching at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we will tell you that Miss Faulkner is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, Cerf.
Miss Faulkner, I must ask you this. Are you any relation, whatever, this isn't for a no, of the great Nobel Prize novelist William Faulkner?
No, I'm not.
Not even related to him in any way? Well, it has nothing to do with the show. It's an unusual name. Miss Faulkner, you are salaried. Do you deal with any kind of product?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Miss Faulkner, you look as if you might be rather athletic. Does what you do involve strength or dexterity in any way?
In an athletic sense, you mean?
Oh, in any sense.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Do you move about in your work?
Yes.
Do you do something... May I withdraw that?
It's withdrawn.
Would you say that there were more men doing what you do than women in the United States of America?
Yes.
And you go from place to place?
Yes.
What is your term of reference here, Dorothy? We don't want to mislead you. Do you mean that in the actual exercise of the service, is she moving around within a confined area, or when you say go place to place, do you mean from one community to another?
Well, not from one community, certainly. Well, I don't know why not.
Well,
but that really,
I just
that
don't
isn't what
want
I
you
had
to,
in mind. I just meant moving around. She wasn't chained to a desk, is what I really meant, I
see.
think. And there's no product. Do you use your hands in your work?
Yes.
May I rule out athletics?
Yes.
You have nothing to do with any sports. May I also rule out that you teach or coach any athletics or sports?
Yes.
Can both men and women avail themselves of your services?
Yes.
Could children?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go. Mr. Milland.
Do you work in one room as against all over a building?
Yes.
We have a small conference, if I may, Ray.
Let's see.
Did you say that
Ray, I'm sorry to have to tell you this. Upon review of the evidence in hand, we're going to change that answer. You got to know. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
What did you get a no on, John?
I don't know.
Ray asked the question. Ray asked the question if Miss Faulkner worked in one room rather than worked in several areas around a building. And Miss Faulkner said yes, but we have now consulted. Miss Faulkner agrees the answer should be no. Miss Francis.
I just want to be sure of an answer that Dorothy got. Was the answer no to teaching?
Yes.
It was no. There is no advice or anything like that. Do you wear something other than the costume that you're wearing now when you're at your job? Do people watch you when you're at your job?
No, wait a minute. I've got to have a small conference again.
Awful lot of conferences.
Well, John likes to know what they wear.
He only asked about it.
Not to mislead you, as a matter of personal choice, Miss Faulkner wears other than what the normal street wear when she's working, but this does not rule out the possibility that she could work in normal street wear if she chose to do so.
All right. Would anybody be liable to watch you when you're doing the job that you do,
Yes.
apart from a supervisor?
Yes.
However, it would not be considered a form of entertainment.
No.
I mean, what Miss Faulkner does would
Yes.
not be considered a form of entertainment.
It
That's
is
right.
not considered that. Do you work out of doors at all?
Sometimes.
Do you perform a feat that requires manual strength?
Yes.
Over and above the norms that would be called upon in the performance of a routine service by the average human being, you mean?
Do you feel that you've embroidered my question to some degree? What I merely meant by that was, does Miss Faulkner do something that maybe I am not strong enough or able enough to do?
Fine. That puts it in a term of reference. It clarifies the picture
And therefore
for
I
us.
get a
And
no.
it's now
Thanks
4
a
down
lot.
and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Miss Faulkner, you said that you could perform the service for both men and women. Do you come into physical contact of any sort with these men and women when you're performing the service?
No.
No?
5 down and 5 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you then, Miss Faulkner, come into contact with objects rather than people? You have said you worked with your hands. Do you work on objects?
Yes.
Are they better off after you have dealt with them in some manner?
The objects?
So, yes.
Well, I think that any object that comes in contact with Miss Faulkner would have to be better off. But the answer you get is no. 6 down and 4 to go, Ray Milland.
Do you do anything like you work with objects? Do you happen to shave a peach or something like that?
No. 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you by any chance work for a non-profit making organization?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Miss Faulkner, do you have to belong to a union to perform the job that you do?
No.
No, Miss Faulkner does not. However, to, again, keep the picture in focus, there is a union involved in this general area which others doing the same work might belong to. Or
Well, that
would
lets
belong
Steele
to Miss
out.
Kilgallen.
Miss Faulkner, do you have anything to do with roofing, plumbing, construction, destruction, anything? No, okay.
No.
10 down and no more to go. I'm surprised. I thought you'd all very readily recognize a television cameraman when you met one. I mean, camera woman.
Television camera?
Television camera woman, yes. The station
You
is
write a
W.
television camera without belonging to a union.
Yeah, is that how they operate
Well,
in
now,
Tennessee?
Bennett, this is WCYB in Bristol, Virginia, a very small town and a very small television station. And
But if it's a
not all
profit-making-
television stations in the country, by any stretch of the imagination, are unionized.
Well, if the union organizer is listening to this, I hope he'll go right down to Tennessee tomorrow.
How to endear yourself with any guest of the... Yes, Miss Kilgallen.
And don't they have any kiddies in Tennessee?
Do they have any what?
Kiddies.
Not only
Children.
in television stations, no.
Well, no, I meant that, I asked a question about could she benefit, I think, men, women, and children.
No,
And
the
answer
benefit
no.
was the object she dealt with
Okay.
would have benefit. The television camera, last time I looked just like a television camera when she got through with it. But actually, the station is a little station in Bristol, Virginia, and I might say Miss Faulkner's a remarkable young lady. She is a television camera woman. I suppose that's the proper term.
We haven't any up north, have we, John?
I think in some small stations you sometimes find one. And actually, it has to be in an area where the work is not necessarily a full-time job. Now, Miss Faulkner works from 5 to 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night. In the daytime, she works in a missile plant. So that she's a very busy young lady.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for puzzling the panel. It's nice to have you with us. All right, panel, let's see what we can do with the second challenger. Would you come in and sign in, please? Lee, A. Sullivan, Sr., right?
Good evening, Mr. Davis.
And I must say, Mr. Sullivan, I see you've been reading up on television. That's one of the nicest television blue shirts I've seen in a long time. Where are you
Thank
from, sir?
Jacksonville, Illinois.
Jacksonville, Illinois.
Right.
All right, Mr. Sullivan, our panel. Mr. Sullivan, will you join me over here, please? You know how we keep score, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, I do.
All right, then, let's let everybody except my friends on the panel know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, Mr. Sullivan is self-employed, and let's begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Sullivan, is there a product involved in what you do?
Yes, ma'am.
Could any one of us on the panel use your product?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you consider it more useful than sheer luxury?
Yes and no.
There I am again, that nasty old villain. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Milland.
Would you have to buy this in a special sort of store or shop?
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid to ask you, would I buy it?
Yes, sir.
Would you or could you, did you say?
Would I?
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan, you're right. You certainly could. You could buy one, and,
Well, you think I'm obviously not the type to buy it?
well, no, this isn't necessarily so, Ray, because I don't know enough about, your general activity. It's possible you could want to buy it.
Would my wife buy it?
Well, if your wife had the same interests you had and was acting as principal.
Well, my interests are varied. Is it something that one wears?
No.
No, that's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
If you had one of these, would you like to show it off?
Surely.
If you had one of them, would you have it in the house?
No.
No, that's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Sullivan, has this object ever been, or is it now alive? No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is it something that is generally found out of doors?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it larger than a bread box?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it as large as a telephone booth?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it larger?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it have any moving parts?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it move about at all itself? I don't mean by itself, but can it be propelled? Is that part of its function?
No, ma'am.
That cuts out...
Automobile, motorboat.
I was thinking of something with...
I wish I'd stayed home tonight, I know that. Just a minute, we have to have a small conference. They certainly can't eat it.
Could be taken either way.
I think here, Dorothy, to be fair to you, although using the language very technically, you should perhaps get a no answer there. We will give you a qualified no, and you continue the questioning, which will suggest that there's an area within which your question would be applicable.
John, when I said propelled, it was merely the insufficiency of my vocabulary that was at fault.
No, this has got nothing to do with insufficiency of vocabulary. It's just you've picked a verb which makes it very difficult for us to give you a flat no, that's all.
I meant, does whatever this thing is that is larger than a telephone booth and has movable parts, does it at some time when it is functioning move either with or without the help of a human being?
No, ma'am.
Oh, man, I wish I'd stayed home tonight. Well, with Mr. Sullivan's permission, I'm going to say again. You say, does it move with or without the help of a human being? And with that, we'll say yes.
Yes, it has moving parts. Do the moving parts move? They don't just sit there, do they?
No, we gave you a yes.
Does this... Now, you have indicated that this is a luxury product, right? Because I got a no on useful rather than luxury. So this isn't something that every one of us has to have.
Right.
Is it ever used in business?
Yes, ma'am.
But a private person could...
Let us put it this way. The use of it has an application to the general concept of business.
It would not be extraordinary for a private person to have one of these things.
For his own personal use.
Providing he kept it in a proper place, not in the house.
I think it would be extraordinary for a private person to have one of these, even if he did keep it in the proper place. That's 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Milland. I'm going to give you 1 more minute on this, because you're not close to it.
I'm up now?
Yep, you're up.
Is something else kept in this thing that you are associated with?
No,
is it a place where one stores something or something lives?
No. 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Francis.
Is it on land rather than on water, this product?
Yes, ma'am.
It would be on land.
Yes, ma'am.
Would one sit in it, stand in it, or look through it?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, could you look through it, whatever you have?
Could you look through it? Now, let's see. Could you
Is there
look
any
through
glass associated with this? Is there any glass on it, by it, from it, around it?
Any
glass?
Glass.
glass? No.
That makes it 7 down and 3 to go. You want to take a shot at it, Bennett?
I'd like to know, could this be used in any governmental way by a city or state or country?
It's probably a broom you ride on. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to throw all the cards and say Arlene has come the closest. It's a Ferris wheel. Mr. Sullivan is president of a bridge company, actually. It's the Eli Bridge Company, but they stopped back in, what, around 1906 or 7 making bridges, and they make Ferris wheels. They've been making them through all these years.
How are things going around?
1900? What's that?
I just want to know how things were going around, Mr. Sullivan. Well?
It's still going round and round.
Still
Still going round and round. And we puzzled the panel, and we thank you, sir. Very nice
Thank
of you
you.
to join us. Sullivan is a young 70 years old. And now we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment. But first, here is a message from from our sponsor. Come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which my colleagues on the panel are blindfolded. Blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yeah. Sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of the mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin it with Arlene Francis.
Are you part of the wonderful world of entertainment?
L'éducation pas le mauvais le mieux peut dire ça.
Who?
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
Yes?
Cerf.
Have you ever been in a motion picture?
C'est un peu pas garçon pas le pire pour moi là. Yes.
Miss Kilgallen.
Are you also in the field of records?
C'est tout comme pas parler en accord. Yes.
Are you a singer?
Am I a singer?
Yes.
Yes.
Miss Francis.
Try to make us believe he's Yves Montand or Maurice Chevalier or something. Are you, you're a singer. Have you also been a motion picture personality?
Yeah, that has been asked, and the answer is yes.
Are you beautiful?
This
Are you
is-
a handsome leading man?
Are you a handsome leading man? That helps anyway. We got that improvement. I would say here, this is a difficult question for our guest to answer, and I would say he is a handsome man, yes, Mr. Cerf.
Did you ever play in a picture called Island in the Sun?
Yes.
Mr. Harry Belafonte?
Yes, Mr. Harry Belafonte.
At least this time I got further than the first question.
that was quite a language there you were.
Yes, I kind of chopped it up a little. It was a little mixture of everything.
What was it? Was it Creole French?
A little bit of Creole French, a little bit of double talk, and a little bit of confusion.
I meant to say the picture you're doing now, but I can't think of its name.
Odds Against Tomorrow.
Odds Against...
Well, that's the one that's currently playing
new
on
one.
Broadway.
That's right.
Odds Against Tomorrow's currently playing. Yes, Miss
And isn't Harry going to be currently playing on Broadway pretty soon at the Palace?
Yes, on December the 15th, I'm going to be in the Palace Theater for about 8 weeks.
That'll be a big opening.
I hope so.
That's almost the last of the big theaters left where you would have a long run like that, isn't it? Palace,
As a matter of fact, it's the last of the vaudeville houses in America. Yes.
That's right. I know that the Palace was the great goal in the olden days when vaudeville was general over the country, but there is no other place in the United States that's quite like the Palace now.
No, most of the theaters in the country that at least that I perform in and a lot of us perform in were not basically vaudeville houses. They're all either legit theaters or open-air amphitheaters.
Well, Harry, as a young man who has come to very great fame in entertainment in recent years, this may be a question you don't want to answer, but I'm going to try it because everybody has a theory. What killed vaudeville?
What killed vaudeville?
Yeah, in its old structure.
Well, I would rather think that vaudeville at the moment is kind of having a little hibernation. I don't really think that it's dead. I would think that mostly it was the medium of television.
It was new things that came along in the area of entertainment.
Radio and movies, too.
Yeah. And that I think Harry's put it very well. It's hibernating, but we'll be back with us. Thank you very much for being our guest.
Harry, go off singing Matilda so we can all join in. Come on. Can you
I
find
would
the
like
key?
to, but I have to tell you the truth. On December the 10th, I am also appearing in a one-hour show on CBS for Revlon. And,
Are you doing Matilda for them?
yes, so my
Well, this
contract.
is CBS. Have a workout.
But it's not Revlon.
Harry, thanks very much, even if you can't sing, Matilda. Nice to have you with us. And we'll be back after this word from our sponsor. Mr. Milland, it has been nice having you with us. Hope you'll be back. And good night, Dorothy Kilgallen.
Good night, John. Good night, Ray. Come again.
Thank you. Good night, Arlene.
Anytime, Ray.
Thank you.
Good night, Bennett.
Good night, John Charles Francis.
We were
Nine
just...
and a half years and one night, and it's still wrong. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line.
Transportation for contestants on What's My Line is arranged by United Airlines. What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman. This is Hal Sims speaking.